Very good afternoon from me, Steve Lazarus, and this week's edition of Disasters in the Home Community on Sunday, the 7th of April 2013. And what a beautiful spring day it's been today. What I wanted to mention to you today was a little known clause in an insurance contract known as trace and access. And this provides cover for disasters in the home when you have things like leaks which you cannot detect where they're coming from. And a typical example of this would be when there is a leak coming up from the floor. In a lot of properties that were built in the 70s and 80s and extensions, for example, around about that time, contractors used to lay pipework for central heating and pipework going into sinks and taps and things like that in the floor, and then they used to chuck a load of shingle and concrete and hardcore over the top of them, and then you lay your flooring over the top of that, and you forgot about it. Years later down the line, you might start to see, typically you start to see water coming up through the floor in various locations, maybe through the concrete tiling, or you'd find damp patches on your carpets, for example. Or you might notice a drop in pressure on your boiler or your radiators for your central heating system not working properly. And the problem, of course, would then be, where is the leak coming from? Because you've got your flooring, your hardwood flooring, or your carpets and your concrete on top, and the leaks could spring up all over the place. Now, the reason for these leaks is because the copper piping, normally copper, would start to corrode over a period of time. As they get hot, they start to sweat, and when they cool down, they start to get this corrosive effect, and you get little pinpricks in the pipework, and then they leak in various locations, and it's virtually impossible to detect where they're coming from. So what insurers didn't like was for claimants to start digging up their floors all over the place without understanding where the leak was coming from. So they devised a little add-on to the policy called Trace and Access, and this would provide cover to find where the leak is coming from. So they'd cover you for finding the leak, digging a trench, for example, and then if there was a leak, they wouldn't pay for the repairs to the pipework because that is treated as maintenance, but they would provide a degree of cover up to a limit for the location of the leak and then repairing that flooring where you've taken it up, for example. Many companies now offer specialist what they call leak detection units or leak detection equipment to locate where leaks are coming from underfloor, such as thermal imaging equipment. And I think there's one or two companies advertising on our community forum here, so take a look at those. So if you suffer from leaks from under the floor or leaks where you don't know where they're coming from, check your insurance policy to see if you've got the trace and access cover. Often provides cover for say up to £5,000 in any one financial year or per claim. Check you've got that cover and then call your insurers and ask if you can undertake some initial inspection, initial trace and access work to find out where it's coming from. The only downside is if you do start digging around and trying to find out where leaks are coming from, and in fact it's not a leak, but it's say damp, insurers won't pay for any of it. So you still need to get some expert advice. You still need to get the advice of somebody like a loss assessor like myself or a building surveyor to come along and give you some advice. So that's this week's little tip. It's called Trace and Access. I hope that's been of some benefit to you. If you need any advice or you've got any experience of these sort of problems, please post them on the forum. Look forward to hearing from you. And until next week, this is Steve Lazarus wishing you a very happy week and all our followers at the Disasters in the Home community. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.